Today's video, we're going to talk about how to set up inside your Google ad campaigns in the settings menu, the goal or goals with an S setting is goals is actually what it's called. And the campaign marketing objective setting on your campaigns in order to maximize the results in terms of sales and profit from those said campaigns. We're going to talk about the differences between the display campaigns, the video campaigns, and the search campaigns, how the settings that you do technically are different, as well as you guys that are doing non-e-commerce or just basic lead generation versus you e-commerce people. What you guys should be doing for those two settings in your account. How you set those two settings up inside your each individual campaign will affect how much results you're getting with your campaign. So instead of just winging it, you could simply take our advice, having tested every which way on how to do this, and just came up with the best policy that is getting us the overall best results in our client campaigns at our PPC agencies. So with all that said, I'm going to go through each one of these individual settings, the goal setting, the marketing objective, campaign marketing objective setting inside Google Ads when setting up campaigns to get most out of your ads. So the first thing I'll do right away here, we'll talk about search campaigns since that's what most of you guys are doing first. And within the search campaign realm, there's actually two different kind of distinct ways that this is done depending on if you're an e-commerce business or you're non-e-commerce business doing lead generation. Respectively, we'll start out with if you are just doing lead generation, you're not selling, in other words, products online through a shopping cart or through your website using a shopping cart, and you're just trying to get a lead to do a two-step sale. You get the lead, then you try to sell the lead, then you send them a contract or whatever to sign or whatnot. If you're generating leads then, non-e-commerce, you're going to want to track as much stuff as you can. Why? Because the more stuff you get tracked, the more data you're going to give to Google's ad algorithm to get you results with and through that data. The more data that you have, the better results Google can get you. Of course, the better results you can get for yourself if you're going to make revisions to your campaigns on the keyword level, time of the day of the week, device, age, gender, parental status, income level, which gets you really good results, by the way. So it's very important to set up your goals right. I see more than half of people in accounts that I audit, they don't have their goal tracking set up right, and they're basically throwing half or more of their money out the window that they're spending on and through the Google ads, because half or greater of the value is just knowing what part of your account produced a sale which didn't, so you could double, triple down on the parts that were getting you sales and take it away and then just simply by pushing the budget that's not getting you the results to the part that is. And then you can walk up your results. Google's ad algorithm also can get you more and more results if they have the correct data. If you don't have the correct data and your ads don't work, then you're dead in the water. If you have the proper tracking data from the beginning and you don't have results, but you get some sales, you should already be happy, because now you get basically narrow down what you're doing, and whatever's left there probably will be profitable. So, and with that said, you should be thinking about tracking all the following things. The phone calls itself. So using a program or call tracking program like CallRail, track every call that comes in from your website itself, right? And of course, you're going to track the people clicking to call the phone number itself on your Google ad, which for you guys that are doing local business, that's more important. If you don't want to use call tracking, a lot of people don't want to have their phone number rotating on their site. It weirds people out sometimes. I would say you're going to throw a ton of money away if you don't do call tracking. So regardless of how weirded out it gets people, particularly as you're doing lead generation, because half of your leads are probably going to come from phone calls, and not having half your data, you're just being idiotic and overly emotional about it, in my opinion. You want all your data. The data is where the results come from. Without the data, there's no results, period. So weirding people out is an afterthought. But if you weren't going to do call tracking through a company like CallRail or Mongoose Metrics, CallRail is the one I would recommend, by the way. that's the one that's the most stable and reliable. You don't want stuff breaking on you. It also is the most, integrates with the most platforms, CRM systems, and so forth. You're going to track the clicks on the phone numbers itself. So in other words, if somebody's on a mobile device and they go to click on the number to import the phone number to their phone app on their phone and then so that they can call you, you can track those without any traditional call tracking program, and you could at least have that half of the data, i.e., the calls coming from mobile, tracked. In addition to that, of course, you want to track form fills, and I put all next to each one of these. So with the phone numbers, all phone numbers on the site. If you have 5 phone numbers, you need to get them all tracked. I don't care, even if it costs you a little bit more, you can't get results without the data. I can't stress that enough. Every single form fill or contact form on your site, whether it's on your contact page, about us page, on your services page, whatever, every single one needs tracked. Why? And people venture away from your landing pages. People will go to your landing pages and then they're inquisitive. They want to know, what's this company about? And then they go to other pages and then they're going to fill out a form there. Or they're going to call on another page. And that's why you got to have all the stuff tracked on your site, not just the page that you're taking people to. If you want to know the stats, by the way, it's generally about 10% of the people will leave your landing page and convert on another page. But that extra 10% of data, if you're spending 10 grand a month on ads at some point, that $1,000 a month, you're just throwing away, basically, because the data is money, like I said. Email clicks. So some people don't have contact forms, but they'll have their raw email address listed on their site. So basically, people can click on it and then import that email to their email app on their computer. Old school stuff instead of a contact form. I don't recommend doing that anymore. You're going to get a shitload of spam doing that. But if you do have it, you could track when somebody clicks on the email, just like you could track if they click on a phone number to get it imported into somebody's phone app, and you could track that as a goal. You should track those if you have it. You could track document downloads. This is where you have white papers or ebooks or whatever, anything where you have to physically enter in your email address at least to get the information, which would indicate you have some sort of lead. Track every single one of those pieces of information. If you have 50 ebooks, you track them all. Yes, it's going to be a pain in the butt initially, but you got to have your data to get good results. Pop-ups. If you have any pop-ups that show up on your page that tries to get people to opt in for a discount, a prize, a contest, an ebook, also got to track all those. And if there's multiple, you got to track them all. You can see the common theme in all this. Email opt-ins. So if you have a newsletter, you have an opt-in for that. Of course, you got to make sure to track those. And then basically what we're going to do is treat all of these things that I just mentioned as a lead. Now it goes against the conventional wisdom or what people would normally, what would seem like common sense to people. They only want somebody who's ready to buy. So why am I tracking if they download an ebook? The reason for that is the more data you have, particularly initially, the more results you're going to get. So your results are going to be shitty until they're not. Your results are going to be shitty until you have enough data to where they're not going to be shitty. So in the beginning, if you're not going to track all these people that are telling you that they're interested in buying, whether or not they do, or the quality of the lead, you want all that data to be able to guide Google quicker so you get to profitability faster. When you get to profitability, it's all a downhill slide, obviously, because you don't have to worry, is this going to be viable or not? It's just going to keep getting better and better and better at that point. So do yourself a favor and track all your stuff that you have in this list. Respectively, as long as it has an opt-in where you have to fill out a form or call to be able to get what's available on your site, you're going to track that as a conversion goal, and you're going to mark it primary in your conversion menu. So there's 2 different ways to have a conversion set up in the conversion menu to start with. Primary and secondary. Secondary, if it's something's marked secondary, it's not going to show up inside your campaign menu when you got a conversion. That's the big difference between primary and secondary. Also, Google's not going to use it for bidding optimization and guiding your ad purposes. It will look at it as a secondary indicator, but not a strong indicator. So, and with that, if you want to help yourself out, if you have some ebooks and some videos, you want to track those and mark them secondary to get a little bit more of a jump initially to gather some data, and you think basically if they watch this video, they are pretty much going to be a customer, we'll track that and mark it secondary too. It'll help you out. Most people don't have that. If they watch a video, it doesn't really indicate that person's that much more of a qualified lead than somebody else who just hit your site. So that would be the determination if you do that there. Would track that for yourself in addition to the things I mentioned here or not. So anyway, the reason why I brought up basic conversion tracking and all this is because with all of this, you're going to, when you go to set up your campaign, in the goal settings where it asks what goals you want to pay attention to for the guidance of that campaign, you're going to select at the account level versus certain goals for just that particular campaign. Respectively, that there's no reason to select specific goals just for your campaign for the most part. There's some weird situations, but 99% of you guys, you're just going to click all goals in the account level goals is what you want to use as goals to guide that specific campaign that you're setting up. So as far as the goal setting, inside your campaign, in the settings menu, under goals, you choose the option for select all goals from your account, and it's going to look at any of these things that I told you that are occurring and try to get more of those. In addition to your campaign with the campaign marketing objective, if you're generating leads, you're going to set the campaign marketing objective to just leads, okay? So pretty self-explanatory here. And with that, again, if you're trying to get somebody to call you, not, basically, sign up for an email subscription or whatnot, you're still going to track the email subscriptions because it's going to get you to accumulate a massive data quicker. Google needs so much data to be able to guide the ads and not do a terrible job getting you an ROI. Eventually, if you get enough conversions, basically, people aren't going to opt in for something if they're not going to have a decently more higher chance of becoming a customer. Therefore, that's why you're going to use that data too to guide your campaigns. But once you get far enough, you could switch over to having offline conversion tracking. So you're going to, of the leads you get, you're going to track with your CRM system or a spreadsheet if you wanted to do it that way. And every month, you're going to take all the people who bought and you're going to plug those people back into your ad account, and you're going to set up a goal for people who bought. And then with that, you can change that if you have enough goals triggered there of people who actually purchased, you can actually go back to your goal setting and just target people that bought. So in other words, that campaign won't just be gunning for prospects anymore, it'll be gunning for sales, okay? And so that would be the distinction. You're tracking more kind of things than you need to initially to get results quicker, and basically you need a lot of times hundreds of conversions to for Google to do a good job guiding your campaign. So you'll take them where you can get them. If they opt into anything at all or call you at all for any reason, you're going to use that as a conversion until you have enough, basically sales where you could switch to just optimizing for sales only. And if you're going to optimize for sales only, you actually need probably 100 sales at least to start doing that. But the process to import the sales into your ad account so you could take that campaign and make it optimized for sales is called offline conversion tracking. And I've got videos on this particular YouTube channel about that. I've got a great article on our site that really, really makes it simple at guaranteeppc.com/blog. If you look at our blog, that I wrote that personally and explains it. Essentially, long story short, you're capturing a little code called a GCLID code when somebody fills out one of the forms or calls, and when somebody buys, the person who bought, you go check the code that was captured when that lead was created. You give Google back that same code. Then it knows the time of the day of the week, keyword, ad, how old they were, all of that information. That customer, it tells you all the traits of that specific user, so you can, basically tailor that account to get more people with those similar traits, because they're likely people with those similar traits are more likely to buy than other people with other traits. And you get 100 people and the information about the people that bought from 100 people or more, then you're in a position to Google to ignore all the people that are just basically turning into a lead or a prospect and just go for the people who, look like the people who actually buy. And you'll only get so far optimizing for leads. If you want to get 3 times the results on top, that you would get otherwise, or if you want to basically triple your results, in other words, you want to eventually start optimizing for people that look like the people who bought. And that's why you wanted to do offline conversion tracking. Initially, if you wanted to get a jump on it, you set up your campaign, right away get your offline conversion tracking set up. So when you have 100 sales, you can switch to offline conversion tracking right away. So you don't have to wait. But that, of course, is up to you. It takes more time to do the tracking of the forms and the pop-ups and all that and the phone calls, but it's 100% worth it. Obviously, tripling your results, or roughly thereof, is worth it for the time and effort it takes. If you don't know how to do that, just contact our firm at Guarantee PPC. I'll help you out and point you in the right direction, or help you physically do it. But it's not that hard to do it at all if you just have a qualified person who's done it before. So anyway, like I said, in summary, the campaign objective is always leads. You're going to target all these things in this list initially until you have 100 sales, and in which you have the offline sales tracking set up. You can switch over to just doing in the goal setting tracking of the people who bought at some point or after a minimum of 100 conversions, sales, 100 sales actually, for the algorithm to use that data and to feed off of to get you more customers. Now, if you're going over to the e-commerce side here, at minimum, you want to track, of course, your sales coming through your cart. Okay, 100% recommend at this day and age having the Google Ads conversion pixel set up to track your sales versus the Google Analytics conversion tag. And the reason for that is because I've tested this both ways. The Google Ads conversion tag picks up more of the sales data than Google Analytics does by a wide margin. We're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50%, and a lot of, or just on average from the markets where we've tested this out at, because we've done this several times. Usually what we'll do is we'll set up the Google Ads conversion tag to track the cart purchases itself into Google Ads, and then we'll set up through Google Analytics purchase tracking there, and then we'll import the purchase goal from Google Analytics to Google Ads so we can see inside the conversion menu on Google Ads, the Google Ads sales conversion tracking and the revenue side by side with the revenue that's tracked by the Google Analytics pixel, so that if the Google Ads purchase tracking pixel ever breaks, we'll know it, because basically the ratio between what Google Analytics picks up and what Google Ads picks up should be relatively consistent. And for that, you don't ever want a time where your sales tracking is broken, because you're going to lose a lot of momentum if your conversion tag's broken. So at any one time, just looking at those two goals, you'll know if they're broken or not without even having to put a test purchase through. And is a great way to monitor your cart pixel tracking and tag itself. This is a side tip. Well, what you'll do if you do it the way that I mentioned is you're going to set up the Google Analytics conversion tag itself, the purchase tag, as secondary, whereas the Google Ads conversion tag that tracks purchases is going to be marked as primary. You don't want to mark them both primary, because you're going to double count the same conversions and revenue. And if it's not obvious, you want to track the purchases, whether they occur or not, and get the revenue. Why? Because you want to be optimizing your ads for higher profit, not just higher purchases, given each purchase can be a different amount. And if you just optimize for purely purchases and you don't have the conversion revenue, Google's algorithm will start steering your account to get lower and lower cost purchases, given those are the ones that are usually the cheapest ones to acquire. So for everyone that does e-commerce, that purchase tracking is vital, okay? And as a small side tip, before I go into the rest of this as well, anymore, if you're doing multi-step sales, so if you have essentially like where you are marketing an ebook or content, and then you also have brand ads running, I would recommend highly doing data-driven conversion attribution in the attribution settings inside the conversion menu under your goals. Why? Because it'll get you a more accurate representation on things, so that the initial content gets credit for the sale and not just the brand ad that they click on later on 30 days later when they go decide to buy, go Google your name and then click on that, and it won't look like the original content worked, and given it usually doesn't result in the purchase right away or activity right away. That same thing would apply to you non-e-commerce guys as well. Otherwise, I'm using last click attribution anymore, respectively, at least as for now. We're slowly moving over to data-driven attribution in general, but if you have any kind of where the goal isn't to get a purchase right away or a lead right away, the data-driven really is very helpful in getting your campaigns that are sort of, marketing to somebody who's not at the bottom of the sales funnel to, you get the proper amount of data to optimize those campaigns. Anyways, you get for e-commerce, your purchases to the cart tracked, okay? You're going to also track all this other stuff that I told the non-e-commerce guys to track. Anything that requires an opt-in whatsoever, you're going to track as well, okay? And initially, okay, when you start your campaigns out in the goal setting inside your campaign, you're going to say optimize for any conversion at the account level. So that means you're going to track the online purchases as well as anybody opting in. And the reason for that, again, is it's really hard getting results with so little data starting out. So to kickstart the process, you're going to track anything where anybody's shown where they're a little bit more likely to be a customer than not. So Google can have more data to learn from quicker. And then eventually, if you get enough purchases, inside the goal setting, you can just narrow it down to just people who go through the cart if you want at that point in time, to kind of optimize, the process of set the campaign up that you have or campaigns that you have up to actually get you more of what you want. If you have 100 cart purchases, then you could just, in the goal setting of that campaign or campaigns, just be looking at the sales itself, right? So, and narrow it down just to the cart purchases goal, the goals that represent, or goal I should say, that represents the cart purchases, and get a little bit better results from that. Of course, on the e-commerce campaigns, you're going to do nothing but, as far as the campaign marketing objective, set it up and to optimize for sales so that it gets you sales. And with that, if you're tracking, people that opt in for your email newsletter or a ebook or whatever, because you set the campaign marketing objective for sales, it will use this other data about opt-ins to steer your campaign initially, as it's not got very much data. But even if you didn't also later on narrow down the goals under the goal menu inside settings there to only look at the cart purchases, it would actually just basically look at the cart purchases anyway, as you're making the objective sales, and it knows which goal is sales and which is not, because a sales goal is going to be one that has purchases or purchase revenue tied to it, i.e. your cart checkout goal that you have. So you basically, even if you don't take out those other goals at some point, you really wouldn't notice that much of a change, and we've seen that. It's not a big deal. You could still do it and get a little bit of an improvement, but it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, you track all these as well. Now, if you take orders over the phone or have a product over $100 in cost, you can mark all the goals, so the cart purchase goals, and then all of these as primary goals inside the conversion menu. Why? For people that take orders over the phone. Basically, the reason for that being is, obviously, if the bigger orders come through the phone, they skew to the orders over the phone will skew to be the bigger purchases, because the people that are spending more statistically will more likely want to ask questions first to feel confident about the purchase. And so if you're not tracking these other things, you're going to be missing out on a lot of data, and the algorithm is going to steer your account to go towards the smaller purchases. So you definitely want to mark these other goals as primary at all points. And if you sell something over $100 in value, the time in which somebody initially searches to the time they purchase, the more expensive the product is, the longer as they call it, the conversion window is, or sales cycle window is, from the time that they click to the time they purchase on average. So if you don't track these other goals, which a lot of people will just be contacting you before they ever purchase, and it could be a long time, and you're not tracking these, and you're not and telling Google that these are serious goals to look at, then again, you're going to be missing out on quite a bit of data, because basically when they come back 60 days later, the likelihood that they're on a whole different device is decent. And then there's a break in the conversion. So anyway, you want to be optimizing, if you sell expensive items, to try to just get you more cart purchases as well as these other opt-ins, because it'll give you more overall results than just looking at the cart sales itself, as we have found, okay? If you do sell something under $100, then these other goals can be marked secondary, because for the most part, people either buy right away or they don't. This isn't like a major decision, so they probably within the same day will buy. That makes these other goals not as important, and you want to tell the algorithm that you want to go after and just look at the cart sales primarily at that point. If you don't take orders over the phone, obviously all the people who buy, even if they come and call, they're going to be forced back to make their order through the site. Obviously, these other things here aren't as important, and you could just have them look at the cart sales. But predominantly, even if you do take all the orders through the cart, I'm going to be marking all of these other goals as primary as well. But for me, the main thing is if we're selling something under $100, I will mark these secondary, not just if we don't take orders over the phone. But those are two factors to think about and wanted to comment about when deciding if you want to mark these other goals as secondary in your conversion menu or not. And so anyway, like I said, basically, and if you do mark these goals secondary, obviously you don't inside your goal menu, inside the goal section, inside the settings section inside your campaign, you don't have to have these other goals there as the intended goals to look for that campaign in the goal section of that setting section of that campaign, right? So anyway, in summary here, you have, and we're talking about still just search campaigns, you have the campaign marketing objective set up as sales, and then you're going to say look at all account goals, and in terms of the goal setting, which goals to look at and optimize for. If you sell something under $100, you may only set things up to look at this cart purchasing goal itself by itself, or if you get over 100 cart purchases, you may eventually go back in and only look at the cart purchase goal for the goal settings section there. And so what I told you about here in general, again, only just covers, or just was supposed to cover, search campaigns. Now, I didn't talk about display campaigns or video campaigns if you guys are doing those too, which is a different story. For just the display campaigns, everything that I said is basically on point, okay? What I will tell you is on the display campaigns, the main thing with the display campaigns is it's easy to get a bunch of bogus form fills and like phone calls with your phone call tracking and so forth, because there's a lot of bots you're going to get with display advertising. I don't want to say display advertising doesn't work, but there's more of that stuff. So as it pertains to all your results are basically just predicated on how much quality data that you have built up for your account. If you are actually in your goal setting of your display campaign looking at the leads, you're going to have a good chance that your algorithm's going to get all screwed up and then get you more and more of these bots, filling out your form and not optimizing for quality traffic. So if you have display campaigns, respectively, more so in that situation, you just want to look for and go for the cart sales themselves. And if you're doing lead generation, by the way, you're not an e-commerce business, you really want to look at offline conversion tracking and have the offline conversion tracking goal be your goal that you set up as the goal to optimize for, and have the campaign marketing objective set up as sales itself with it. Because again, if you're just optimizing for leads, a lot of times you'll get a bunch of robots, filling out your form, and they're not real leads, so to say. It's not like search campaigns where you can optimize for these form fills and it's basically fine. Display campaigns are a totally different story in that specific regard. So, and whether you're, again, so basically to boil it down, whether you're non-e-commerce or e-commerce, if you're running a display campaign, I would try to set the campaign marketing objective as sales itself, and then the goal setting should be looking at the cart sales itself. And of course, if you don't have a cart, then you try to set up an offline conversion tracking goal and import that goal, whether you have 100 sales or not, with the goal being once you do get 100 sales, of course, and a better way to do it would be to not run the display campaign, run the search campaigns, get 100 conversions under your offline conversion goal, and then run your display campaign. And then with that, under your goal setting and your display campaign, have that offline conversion goal be the goal that Google looks at to determine what kind of traffic they're going to get you. Because of, again, it's easy for bots to rack up a whole bunch of bogus form fills and then totally steer your campaign off course. So that's the deal with display campaigns. Now, video campaigns, I've talked about in other videos about how the campaign marketing objective, if you actually set that up as looking for conversions, specifically with that, it's very, I'll just call it kind of deceiving, because now you're forced to advertise outside of YouTube. And just what I was talking about in regards to bot traffic, you're not getting bot traffic on YouTube itself because it's a Google property, which makes it so good. And so if you set the campaign marketing objective as set up for conversions, which would make sense if people want conversions, obviously, not brand awareness, which would be another campaign, the campaign marketing objective, itself. Then specifically, you can get a whole bunch of people that your video will, if you set up the campaign marketing objective as having set up the objective itself as conversions, you'll show up on other websites. Those other websites can have bots on them, and they can easily eat up an entire campaign budget. So you're kind of forced with using, as I recommended on that other video, the brand awareness as the campaign marketing objective, so that you don't have to run your video ads anywhere else besides YouTube. And that's just what it is. And so with the video campaigns, then you'll set up the campaign marketing objective as looking for brand awareness, not conversions, because you just want to run your campaigns on YouTube itself. Under the settings menu, as a side note, you want to set your in order to make sure your video ads don't show up on other websites other than YouTube. You have to make sure there's a checkbox that you have to uncheck, that you don't want showing or telling Google that you don't want your video ads to show up outside YouTube. And so you have to, if you check, if you have the campaign marketing objective as conversions, that checkbox that gives you the option to market on YouTube or other, partner websites, it's not uncheckable. Only if you have the campaign marketing objective as brand awareness is it uncheckable. So you set the campaign marketing objective as set as brand awareness, and then you uncheck that box to make sure your videos aren't going to show up on other websites outside of YouTube, and then your campaign has a much higher chance of working. And then as it goes to the goal setting, there is none on the video campaigns themselves. So that's the main thing to know about the video campaigns and campaign marketing objective there, which is even a bigger deal than what as it pertains to the Google search campaigns, in my opinion, because there's lots of times we'll run video campaigns. If you set up, or seen it, I should say, where the person wanted to have the campaign marketing objective set up as conversions, and 80% of the the video campaign budget was just on other websites and there's no conversions. Other websites than YouTube. So I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but anyway, that's in general as it pertains to campaign marketing objective and the goal setting menu within the settings of your Google search, display, and of course video campaigns, how to set those up for maximum results, what you kind of want to do, and it's our process of what we found to get the most results, both starting right away when you have less data and then as you get more data, what you can do to maximize your results there as well. So I'll wrap the video up with that. Hopefully that puts things into good perspective for you. And if you liked the video, I would appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. And consider subscribing to this channel. We have a ton of other content that we're going to be putting out on this channel, as we have been, about other things that at our PPC agency we test and we see working well, stuff that's not working well, so we can educate you about the stuff that's out there working and not working in today's environment and as we go forward. Beyond that, if you have any questions about anything I covered today about the campaign marketing objective setting and the goal setting inside your campaigns that you're trying to run, have some special circumstance that you have that you want to ask questions about, or things that you think I should have covered and maybe didn't, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. And so with that said, I hope you did enjoy this video, and I hope to see you in my next video where we have another great idea, money-making strategy, or potential thing to stay away from in another couple days' time. See you then.